The standoff the battlefield was quiet now. Too quiet. Smoke curled upward in thin black lines carrying the bitter smell of burned metal and blood. The ground was torn with craters and shattered weapons, the bodies of the fallen half buried in dust. Once the clash of war had filled this place with noise and fire. Now only silence remained. Silence and two survivors. Kara stood tall among the wreckage, her chest rising and falling with the rhythm of battle still burning in her veins. Her silver skin glowed faintly under the dying sun, and her eyes, sharp and cold, locked on the man kneeling before her. A human. He was bruised, his armor cracked, his hands bound by a strip of scorched cloth. Yet his face was calm. Far too calm for a prisoner at the edge of death. Kara raised the alien blade she carried, its edge glowing. With soft blue light, she pressed it close to his throat, the hum of its energy vibrating in the air. "Any last words, human?" she hissed, her voice sharp, full of venom. The man looked up at her, his eyes catching the faint light of the burning sky. Instead of fear, there was something else in them, something strange, a smile. "Yeah," he said quietly, almost like a whisper meant only for her. "You're holding it wrong." Kara froze. For a moment her mind stumbled. What kind of last words were these? Not a plea, not a curse, not even silence. A joke? Or was it something more? Her grip on the blade tightened. "You dare mock me?" Above him, human smile widened though his voice stayed calm. "Not mocking. Just telling you the truth." Anger flared in Kara's chest. Her people had fought humans for years, calling them savages, brutes, a species too stubborn to know when to die. But this one, this soldier, looked at her like she was the one who didn't understand. She pushed the blade closer, close enough that the blue glow lit his jaw. "Do you think this is funny? Do you think your tricks will save you?" His eyes never left hers. "Not funny, just dangerous. For you." Her heart skipped, but pride steadied her hand. She wanted to strike him down, to end the battle with his blood. Yet something in his voice kept her still. Behind them, the battlefield groaned in the wind. Broken banners flapped weakly. Shadows stretched long over the wreckage. Somewhere in the distance, a low growl echoed. Kara's ears twitched. Monsters. This planet never slept, but her focus stayed on the human. "What do you mean?" she demanded. He tilted his head slightly, ignoring the blade at his throat. "Your stance, the way your hand grips the hilt, the weight is off balance. That blade's designed for quick strikes, not heavy swings. You're holding it like an axe. First human, you face who knows what he's doing, you'll be dead before you can blink." His words were simple, but they cut deep. Kara had trained for years in the art of war. No human had ever dared correct her. Yet here he was, sitting in the dirt, a prisoner, telling her she didn't even know how to hold her own weapon. She wanted to laugh in his face. She wanted to silence him with one quick slash, but her arm trembled just slightly. Because part of her knew he wasn't wrong. The blade hummed between them, blue light dancing across both their faces. Kara's breathing grew heavy, her pride screaming at her to finish it. But her curiosity, her cursed, dangerous curiosity, held her hand. "Who are you?" she asked finally, her voice lower now. The man's smile softened, though his eyes stayed sharp. "Name's Dane." Kara frowned. Strange name, strange man, strange calm. "You should be afraid," she said coldly. "You are alone, surrounded, defeated." Dane tilted his head back slightly, his gaze flicking to the horizon where the red sun dipped behind the ruins. "Am I?" he murmured. Kara's chest tightened. She followed his gaze, and for the first time she noticed movement in the distance. Not soldiers, not ships, something else. Shapes crawling out of the shadows. Low growls echoing across the battlefield. The monsters were coming closer. Her blade faltered just a little. Dane noticed. Of course he noticed. "Told you," he said, softly, his voice carrying both warning and amusement. "You're holding it wrong." Her eyes snapped back to him, furious now. "Do you think this saves you?" But before he could answer, the growls turned into roars. Shadows burst from the wreckage, creatures with glowing red eyes and long twisted claws drawn by the smell of death and blood. The ground shook under their charge. Kara's instinct screamed. Her blade lifted higher, ready to slash, but her enemy was still kneeling before her, unarmed, unafraid. She faced a choice: finish the human, or fight the monsters. The first beast leapt from the rubble, jaws wide, teeth glistening, and for the first time Kara realized she was no longer the hunter. She was trapped. The twist of the blade. The first monster hit the ground with a roar, claws tearing at the dirt, red, eyes burning like fire. Its jaws opened wide, rows of teeth glistening with saliva and hunger. Kara raised her glowing blade, her body tense. She had fought soldiers, ships, even machines of war. But these beasts were different. They didn't fear death. They only smelled it. Behind her, Dane was still on his knees, hands bound, face maddeningly calm. "Strike low," he shouted suddenly. His voice was sharp, commanding. "The throat!" Kara hesitated, her pride burning. She didn't take orders from humans. But the monster lunged too fast for her to think. She slashed downward, the blade humming as it cut. The weapon sliced through the beast's neck, spraying black blood across the dirt. The creature collapsed, twitching, dead. Her eyes widened. Dane had been right. But there was no time to argue. More monsters crawled out of the ruins, their bodies thick with bone-like armor, their growls shaking the battlefield. Kara turned back to Dane. "Stay down if you want to live." To her shock, he smirked. "Not really my style." And then, in one quick movement, he twisted. Before Kara could blink, Dane rolled forward, snapping the cloth around his wrists against the jagged edge of a broken metal shard in the ground. The bindings tore apart. He moved with speed and precision, like a predator freed from a cage. Kara's grip on her blade tightened. For a heartbeat, she thought he would attack her. Instead, he snatched a piece of wreckage, a broken steel rod, and spun it in his hand like a weapon he had trained with all his life. "You're not the only one with tricks," he said, eyes flashing. The monsters roared again, charging in. Kara's breath caught. She and the human stood side by side now, enemies only minutes ago, but surrounded by something far worse. One beast lunged at Dane. He ducked low, driving the steel rod upward into its jaw. Bone cracked. The beast howled, collapsing to the ground. Another beast leapt toward Kara. She slashed sideways, the blade glowing as it sliced through its chest. The creature shrieked and fell, its body twitching in the dust. For a moment, the battlefield was chaos. Roars, screams, blood, and the sound of steel and energy tearing through flesh. Kara's heart raced. She had never fought like this, back to back, with a human. His movements were raw, brutal, but precise, no wasted energy. Every strike was meant to kill. Dane shouted over the noise, "Told you your grip was wrong, twist the wrist, let the blade's weight work for you." Her pride wanted to curse him, but her survival forced her to listen. She adjusted her grip, her wrist loose but firm. The next strike flowed smoother, cutting deeper, cleaner. Another monster fell. Her eyes widened. He had taught her something in the middle of battle. The monster circled again, growling, waiting for weakness. Dane's chest rose and fell, sweat dripping from his brow, but his eyes never wavered. Kara hissed under her breath, "Why didn't you kill me when you had the chance?" Dane smirked, eyes fixed on the beasts. "Because you're not my enemy right now." The words hit her harder than the monster's claws. The largest beast stepped forward, twice the size of the others, its head crowned with jagged horns. Its growl rolled across the ruins like thunder. The others parted, giving it space. Kara's throat tightened. This was the pack leader, stronger, smarter. Dane spat blood from a cut on his lip. "That one's mine." Before she could stop him, he charged. The leader roared, swinging its massive claw. Dane slid under it, the steel rod flashing upward, striking its throat. But the blow only scraped across its armored skin. The beast snarled, snapping its jaws down. Kyra's instincts screamed. Without thinking, she leapt forward, her blade slashing. The glowing edge cut into the beast's mouth, sparks flying as bone cracked. The creature reeled, howling in pain. Dane rolled clear, panting, his rod dripping with black blood. He glanced at her, and for the first time his smirk faded into something else. Respect. The beast staggered, then collapsed. The pack hissed and scattered into the shadows, dragging their wounded with them. The battlefield grew silent once more, broken only by the sound of Kara's ragged breaths. She lowered her blade, her hands trembling. She looked at Dane. He was leaning on his rod, sweat dripping, blood staining his armor. But alive, Primer. A long moment they just stared at each other. Kara finally spoke, her voice low, almost uncertain. "You should be dead." Dane wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, smirking again. "Yeah, should be." Her blade hummed softly in the silence between them. She could strike him now, finish what she started. But something stopped her, something she couldn't name. The human had saved her. And worse, he had taught her. The thought burned like fire in her chest. But before she could speak again, another sound echoed in the distance. Not monsters this time, not beasts. Something heavier. Engines. Kara's eyes widened. Her people were returning. Dane heard it too. His smirk faded into a grim line. Guess we're out of time? The question now wasn't whether she would kill him. It was whether she would betray him or stand with him. Forced allies, the battlefield lay silent, but not for long. Kara's ears caught the low hum first, steady, mechanical, growing louder. She turned her head toward the horizon. Over the smoke and shattered ruins, silver lights cut through the haze. Dropships. Her people were coming back. Her heart clenched. They had abandoned her once. Why return now? Beside her, Dane leaned against his steel rod, breathing heavy. His face was pale, his armor cracked, but his eyes still burned sharp. He followed her gaze, then gave a dry laugh. "Let me guess," he said, his voice rough. "That's not the rescue team for me." Kara's grip on her blade tightened. He was right. The ships would kill him on sight. Humans were enemies, hunted, executed without question. She looked at him, her pride, warring with something she didn't want to name. This man had mocked her, corrected her, stood beside her against monsters, and lived, and worst of all, he had saved her life. The hum grew louder, closer. The ground trembled as the dropships descended. Soon her commanders would step out. Soon they would demand answers. Dane broke the silence. "You've got a choice, alien." His eyes locked on hers. "Turn me in or run with me, but you can't do both." Her chest tightened. "Run with you? You're insane. They'll hunt us both." "They already are," he said simply. "Monsters. Soldiers, doesn't matter. Survive with me or die with them. Your call." The words stabbed her. Survive with him? Or die with her own people? The dropships landed with a hiss, dust exploding into the air. Figures in silver armor marched out, their glowing visors scanning the ruins. Kara's throat tightened. She recognized them, her unit, the ones who had sealed the ship's doors and left her behind. The anger she thought had died came roaring back. One of the commanders spotted her. "Kara!" His voice boomed through the speaker. "Report. What is your status?" Her blade trembled in her hand. She could step forward now, claim victory, present Dane's corpse as proof of her loyalty. They would welcome her back. Maybe. But as she looked at Dane, bruised, bleeding, yet standing tall, her stomach twisted. He had fought for her when her people hadn't. He had risked himself when they had abandoned her. The commander's voice sharpened. "Do you carry a prisoner?" Kara's heart hammered. Dane's eyes met hers. He didn't speak. He didn't beg. He only waited, his jaw tight, his grip on the steel rod steady. She swallowed hard. "Yes," she called back. Her voice carried across the ruins, steady but cold. "A human." The soldiers raised their weapons instantly, aiming at Dane. Kara's breath shook. One order from her would end him. One word, and her people would welcome her back. But another roar thundered across the battlefield. The ground split open as a new wave of monsters surged from the ruins, larger, faster, hungrier. The soldiers turned their weapons toward the beasts, opening fire. Chaos erupted. Kara's instincts screamed. This was the moment. In the storm of gunfire and roars, no one would see her choice. She turned to Dane. "Follow me." He blinked, surprise flashing in his eyes, but he didn't argue. He ran after her as she darted into the smoke. Behind them, soldiers screamed as the monsters tore into their ranks. Energy blasts lit the battlefield, turning dust into fire. The commanders shouted orders, but their voices were drowned out by the chaos. Kara led Dane through a break in the ruins, her chest heaving. Her mind screamed at her that this was madness, but her heart told her it was the only way. Finally, they collapsed behind the jagged shell of a broken ship. Kara pressed her back to the metal, panting. Dane crouched beside her, his rod dripping with black blood from the earlier fight. He looked at her, a wry smile tugging at his lips. "So, I guess you picked me." She glared at him, her pride flaring. "Don't flatter yourself, I picked survival." "Same thing," he said. Her fists clenched. She wanted to strike him, to shut him up. But the truth was, he wasn't wrong. For the first time in her life, she had chosen against her people. She had chosen a human. The hum of the dropships faded. Behind them, swallowed by the cries of battle. The monsters and her soldiers would tear each other apart. For now, they were free. But Kara knew what this meant. Her people would hunt her. Her commanders would brand her a traitor. She could never return, and all because of him. She turned her blade toward Dane again, anger boiling. "You cost me everything." Dane leaned closer, his eyes sharp. "No. I gave you something. A choice." Her chest rose and fell, her blade trembling between them. She hated him. She hated his calm. She hated the way he forced her to see what she never wanted to see. But most of all, she hated that he was right. In the distance, the monsters roared, and the sky glowed red with fire. Kara lowered her blade slowly. "This doesn't make us allies." Dane smirked. "No, just survivors." The word hung between them, heavy with truth. For now, survival was all they had. The truth revealed. The ruins were behind them now, but the danger was not. Kara and Dane moved through the shattered landscape, keeping low among broken walls and twisted steel. The night sky above was heavy with smoke, the stars hidden, the air thick with the stench of blood and burning metal. Every few steps, Kara paused, listening. The monsters' roars still echoed in the distance, but quieter now, as if the beasts were feeding on the soldiers her people had left behind. She tried not to think about it. Dane followed close, his footsteps steady despite the wound on his shoulder. His steel rod was still clutched in one hand, his other pressed against the cut. He didn't complain, didn't slow down, but Kara noticed the way his breaths grew heavier. Finally, she ducked into the remains of an old bunker half buried under rubble. The roof sagged, the walls cracked, but it was shelter. She dropped to one knee, scanning the shadows before motioning Dane inside. He sat against the wall with a grunt, sweat dripping down his face. For the first time since she had met him, he looked tired, human. The silence stretched between them, broken only by the drip of water from the ceiling. Kara tightened her grip on her blade. She should kill him now, end it before her people caught them both. But the thought made her stomach twist. Her voice was sharp when she finally spoke. "Why? Why did you not strike me when you had the chance?" Dane looked at her, his eyes shadowed but steady. "Because I don't kill unless I have to." Her jaw clenched. Lies. Humans live for war. You destroy, you burn, you take what you want. That's all you know. A faint smile touched his lips, but there was no humor in it. Funny, that's exactly what your people say about mine. Her chest tightened. She opened her mouth to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, anger filled the space where doubt grew. You mock me again. No, he said, his voice lower now. I know what it feels like. Being abandoned. Kara's heart stopped. Her blade hummed in her hand. What did you say? Dane leaned back against the wall, staring at the cracked ceiling. My squad. We were sent here to hold the line. Command pulled out. Left me behind. Just like yours left you. Kara's breath caught. His words stabbed her deeper than his weapon ever could. He turned his head, his eyes locking on hers. Difference is, you still want them to come back for you, don't you? She froze. Her lips trembled, but no words came. He had seen through her cut into the wound she had tried to hide. Yes, she had hoped they would return, even after the doors closed in her face, even after the shame. Deep inside, some part of her had prayed for their shadows to appear on the horizon. But instead, they came for the battlefield, not for her. And she had run with a human. Her blade lowered slightly, her arm trembling. They are my people, she whispered as if trying to convince herself. Dane's voice was quiet, but it carried weight. Family doesn't leave you to die. Her chest burned. Her people had always told her weakness was a curse, that those who could not keep up were left behind. She had believed it all her life, until this man, this enemy, refused to abandon her. She hated him for it. And yet, she envied him. The silence grew heavy again. Outside, the wind howled through the ruins. Somewhere in the distance, a monster gave a low, rumbling growl. Kara's eyes narrowed. You risked yourself for me. Why? I am your enemy. Dane looked at her, and for once there was no smirk, no defiance, only truth. Because one day the person you save might be the one who saves you. Her breath caught. She wanted to laugh at the foolishness of it. She wanted to call it weakness, but the words tangled in her throat. Because part of her wanted to believe it. She looked away quickly, hiding the heat in her eyes. Minutes passed. People's dropships were gone now, swallowed by distance. The night pressed down heavier. The monsters were out there, hunting again. Kara finally spoke, her voice sharp, as if to cut away the weight of his words. We cannot stay here, they will find us. Dane pushed himself up, his jaw tight with pain but his eyes steady. Then we move together, whether you like it or not. Her blade hummed as she raised it, the point aimed at his chest. For a heartbeat, she imagined driving it through his heart, but her hand refused to move. Slowly, she lowered the weapon. This changes nothing. You are still human. You are still my enemy. Dane gave a faint smile. Sure. Whatever helps you sleep. Tonight. Her eyes flashed with anger. Yet under that anger, something dangerous stirred, something she could not name. Outside, the monsters roared again, closer this time. For the first time, Kara realized that the battlefield was no longer just against beasts or soldiers. It was inside her. A war between loyalty and truth. And the human was winning. The hunt. The night was alive with sound. Roars echoed through the ruins. Heavy claws scraped against stone. The monsters were on the move again, their cries growing louder, closer. Kara pressed her back against the bunker wall, her blade glowing faintly in her grip. Her heart thudded hard in her chest. The beasts were hunting them. Dane crouched low. Beside her, his steel rod slick with dried blood. Sweat ran down his face, but his eyes stayed sharp. He listened to the sounds in the dark as if he could read them. They're circling, he muttered. Testing us. Kara frowned. Testing? Dane's jaw tightened. Predators. They don't rush unless they're sure. They want us scared, running blind. Makes the kill easier. Her pride bristled. She had been trained for war, yet here was a human, teaching her how to fight monsters like she was a child. But the growls outside reminded her. He had been right before. Her grip on the blade tightened. "What do you suggest?" He gave a faint, grim smile. "We hunt them first." Kara's eyes narrowed. "That's madness." "Maybe," Dane said, standing, "but running only makes us prey." Before she could argue, he moved, slipping into the shadows outside. Her chest tightened with fury. Stupid, reckless human. But her legs betrayed her doubt and followed anyway. The ruins stretched ahead like broken teeth. Fires still smoldered, where ships had fallen. Smoke curled through the night, carrying the stench of death. Kara's ears twitched. A low growl. Her eyes flicked to the side. A shadow moved between the rubble. The beast leapt. She slashed, the blade cutting deep, across its neck. Black blood sprayed, steaming on the cold ground. The creature collapsed, twitching. Dane appeared behind her, his steel rod cracking down on another monster's skull. The crunch echoed, and the beast fell still. Their eyes met. For a heartbeat, there was no hatred, just survival. Then another roar shook the ruins, deeper, heavier. Kara froze. That sound was different. Dane's face hardened. "Alpha." Her blood ran cold. From the shadows, the leader emerged. Twice the size of the others, its body armored with bone-like plates, its eyes glowing a furious red. Its claws dragged sparks against the stone as it moved, slow and confident. The smaller beasts parted, leaving space for their master. Kara's blade hummed in her hand. Her people had legends of these creatures, killers that even armies avoided. Dane's voice cut through her fear. "You strike fast, you aim for the throat, then you don't stop until it drops." She swallowed. "And if it doesn't?" His eyes never left the beast. "Then we die screaming." The alpha roared, the sound shaking the ruins. It charged. Kara and Dane split, diving to opposite sides. The monster's claw slammed down where they had stood, cracking the ground. Kara slashed at its leg, the blade glowing as it cut, but the armor was too thick. Sparks flew, but the beast barely flinched. Dane vaulted onto a piece of wreckage, leaping onto the alpha's back. His steel rod stabbed into a gap between its plates. The beast shrieked, bucking wildly, throwing him off. He hit the ground hard, rolling, his weapon skidding away. Kara's chest clenched. The alpha lowered its head, eyes locked on him, jaws glowing with a fiery light building inside. Without thinking, she ran, her blade raised. She leapt onto the beast's head, driving the weapon down into its eye. The alpha howled, shaking its head violently. Kara clung to the hilt, teeth gritted, as the monster slammed itself against the ruins to throw her off. Her vision blurred. Her grip slipped. Dane's voice shouted through the chaos. "Twist! Twist the blade!" Her heart pounded. She twisted the hilt, just as he said. The blade burned brighter, sinking deeper into flesh. The alpha shrieked, thrashing, black blood spraying across the stones. It staggered, crashing into walls. Its strength faltering, Kara fell free, hitting the ground hard. Pain shot through her side. She gasped for breath, the world spinning. The alpha stumbled toward her, blood pouring from its ruined eye, but still alive. Dane was already moving. He grabbed his rod, sprinting. With a roar, he leapt and drove the steel deep into the beast's exposed throat. The alpha choked, gurgled, then collapsed with a thunderous crash that shook the earth. Silence followed. Kara lay on her back, staring at the stars barely visible through smoke. Her body ached, her chest heaved, but she was alive. Dane dropped beside her, panting, blood dripping down his arm. His face was pale, his breath ragged. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Kara whispered, her voice trembling despite her pride. "We killed it." Dane gave a faint, exhausted grin. "No, you killed it. I just helped." Her heart twisted. He was her enemy. Yet without him, she would be dead. The night pressed heavy around them. The smaller beasts stayed hidden now, their leader gone. But Kara knew they would return. She turned her head, eyes narrowing at Dane. "This doesn't mean I trust you." He smirked weakly. "Didn't ask for trust, just wanted to live through the night." Her grip on the blade tightened. She wanted to call him a fool. She wanted to remind him he was still human, still her enemy. But instead, she found herself whispering words she never thought she would say. "Then we hunt together." The sacrifice. The Alpha's body lay broken across the ruins, black blood seeping into the cracks of stone. Smoke drifted upward, glowing faintly in the firelight. Kara's chest heaved as she pushed herself to her knees. Every muscle in her body screamed, but she was alive, against all odds alive. She turned toward Dane. He was slumped against a shattered wall, his steel rod still clutched in one hand. His chest rose and fell in uneven gasps. Blood ran from a deep gash along his side, soaking through the cracks in his armor. Kara froze. Her throat tightened. "Dane?" she whispered. His eyes flickered open, finding hers. Somehow, even through the pain, a faint smirk tugged at his lips. "Still standing, huh? Guess you're learning." Her grip on the blade trembled. She should have felt pride in victory. Instead, she felt fear. The sound of distant growls rolled through the night. The smaller beasts were gathering again. The Alpha was dead, but its pack had not left. They lingered, waiting for weakness, waiting to strike. Kara's heart hammered. If they stayed, they would both be torn apart. She moved quickly, crouching at Dane's side. "Get up, we must move." He coughed, a harsh, broken sound. "Not going anywhere." Her jaw clenched. "You will. I will not leave you here." His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist with surprising strength. His eyes locked on hers, burning with fire even as his body failed. "Listen to me. You have to leave me." Her stomach twisted like a knife. "No!" "Yes," he rasped, his voice sharp despite the blood at his lips. "I'm slowing you down. You run, you live. You drag me. We both die." Her chest ached. His words echoed the laws of her people. The weak are left behind, the strong survive. That was what she had been taught her entire life. But looking at him, broken and bleeding, she remembered something else. The man who had spared her life when he could have killed her. The man who fought monsters by her side. Who taught her to use her own blade better than she ever had. The man who had saved her again and again. Her voice cracked. "That is what my people say. But you are not like them." He laughed softly, though the sound was full of pain. "And you're not like yours." The growls grew louder. Shadows moved at the edges of the firelight. Dozens of glowing eyes stared back at them, patient, waiting. Kara's blade hummed as she stood, fury burning in her chest. "I will not abandon you." Dane's voice was sharp, commanding. "Kara, you think this is about pride? It's about survival. If you fight for me now, you die with me. Don't be a fool." But she didn't step away. She planted herself in front of him, her blade raised, her silver skin shining in the firelight. "Then I die fighting, not running." For the first time, Dane's smirk faded into something else, something raw, something almost like respect. The beasts howled and charged. Kara slashed, her blade cutting through the first attacker. Blood sprayed across the stone. Another leapt. She spun, striking its throat. They fell, but more came. Claws raked across her arm, teeth snapped inches from her face. She screamed, driving the blade through another skull. Behind her, Dane struggled to his feet, swaying. His rod was broken, his body failing, but still he stood. "Kara!" he shouted. She turned just in time to see a massive beast charging straight for her, its jaws wide, claws raised. Her muscles were too slow. Her chest froze. She couldn't stop it. And then Dane was there. He slammed his body into the monster, driving his broken rod into its eye. The beast shrieked, flailing, its claws tearing into him as it fell. Both man and monster crashed to the ground. "No!" Kara screamed, her voice tearing through the night. She ran to him, cutting down the beast with savage fury, her blade striking again and again until it stopped moving. Black blood soaked her hands. Dane lay beneath it, his body broken, blood pooling around him. His breaths came shallow, his eyes dimming. Kara dropped to her knees beside him, her hands shaking as she tried to lift him free. Why? Why would you do this? His lips curved into the faintest smile. Because that's what humans do. We don't leave people behind. Her vision blurred with tears. She had never cried before, not once, but now the flood came. You fool. You stubborn, reckless fool. His hand found hers, weak but steady. Guess you're holding it right now. And then his eyes fluttered shut. Kara's scream echoed into the burning night louder than the monster's roars. The beasts circled, hesitating at the fire in her voice, at the fury in her stance. She stood tall, her blade glowing, her eyes burning with something new. She was not just fighting for survival anymore. She was fighting for him. The last words. The battlefield burned around her. Black smoke curled into the starless sky, carrying the stench of blood and fire. The Alpha's carcass lay shattered in the ruins, its pack scattered but not gone. The glowing eyes still watched from the shadows, waiting for weakness. Kara stood above Dane's body, her blade trembling in her hand. Her chest heaved with ragged breaths, her silver skin streaked with blood, his blood and hers. Get up, she whispered, her voice breaking. She shook him gently, her tears falling onto his cracked armor. Dane, get up. But he didn't move. His eyes stayed closed, his chest barely rising. The monsters roared again, louder now, crawling back into the firelight. Their master was dead, but they were not finished. Kara gritted her teeth. Her people's words echoed in her mind. The weak are left behind. But Dane's voice cut through the memory, sharp as lightning. We don't leave people behind. Her chest burned. She looked at the blade in her hand, glowing with cold blue fire. Once it had been a weapon of pride, of duty. Now it felt like a promise. She knelt, sliding one arm under Dane's shoulders. He was heavy, his body limp, but she forced herself to lift him. Her legs shook, her muscles screamed, but she rose. The beasts shrieked, circling closer. Kara shouted into the night, her voice fierce and raw. You will not take him. The pack hesitated. They had faced prey before, but never something like this. A warrior carrying another, her eyes burning like fire. One beast leapt. Kara spun, her blade slicing it mid-air. It fell twitching. At her feet, another charged. She twisted, cutting its leg, driving the glowing edge deep into its chest. She fought like fury itself, blade flashing, blood spraying. She was faster, stronger than she had ever been. Rage fueled her. Love fueled her. But there were too many. Her arms ached, her breath faltered. For every beast she cut down, two more circled closer. And then, a sound split the night. Engines. Kara froze, her heart lurching. Above the smoke, lights broke through the sky. Not alien dropships this time, but something else. A human craft, scarred and battered, descending fast. Her eyes widened. Dane's people. The pack hissed, retreating into the shadows as the ships. Floodlights burned across the ruins. Gunfire erupted from its sides, tearing into the beasts, driving them back. The ship landed hard, its hatch opening with a hiss. Human soldiers spilled out, their armor marked with dirt and blood, their weapons blazing. Kara staggered, clutching Dane against her. The soldiers saw her instantly, an alien, their sworn enemy, holding one of their own. Dozens of weapons locked on her chest. Her blade hummed in her hand. She could fight. She could die here. But then Dane's words echoed again. One day the person you save might be the one who saves you. She dropped the blade. It clattered against the stone. The soldiers froze, shocked. Kara lifted Dane higher, her voice breaking. Save him, please. Her plea tore from her throat, raw and desperate. The soldiers hesitated. One stepped forward, lowering his weapon. He knelt beside Dane, checking his pulse. His voice cut through the silence. He's alive. Barely. Kara's chest shook. Relief crashed over her so hard she almost fell. The soldier looked at her, eyes narrowing behind his visor. Why? Why save him? Kara's lips trembled. For the first time, she spoke the truth she had fought to deny. Because he saved me. The soldier's gaze lingered, searching her face, then flicked back to Dane. Finally, he signaled to the others. 2 men rushed forward, lifting Dane onto a stretcher. Kara staggered after them, but the soldier blocked her path. His voice was cold. Not you, you're the enemy. Her chest ached. She looked at Dane, pale and broken, being carried into the ship. She wanted to follow. She wanted to fight. But then Dane's eyes fluttered open just for a heartbeat. His gaze found hers, weak, faint, but real. His lips moved. No sound came at first. Then, one word, cracked and broken but clear enough. Stay. Her throat closed. Tears blurred her vision. She stopped, her legs trembling. The hatch closed. The engines roared. The ship lifted into the sky, carrying Dane away. Kara stood. In the ruins, the monsters retreating, the fire burning low. Alone again. But not the same. She picked up her blade slowly, her reflection glowing in its light. For the first time, she did not see the weapon of her people. She saw the weapon of a human, a tool not just for killing but for protecting. Dane's last words echoed in her mind. Stay. She whispered to the night, her voice steady despite the ache in her chest. I will, and I will make them remember you. The monsters howled from the distance, but Kara no longer feared them. She raised her blade, her eyes burning with fire. The war was not over, but neither was she.